Nearly a year ago, she declared a state of emergency during a speech shortly after the death of George Floyd. And that speech, it went viral. Here's a snippet.
This is a coordinated activity happening across this nation. And so we are in a state of emergency.
Well, now activist and social justice leader Tamika Mallory has put her thoughts into a new book called State of Emergency: How We Win in the Country We Built. She joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Tamika. So good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that powerful speech following George Floyd's death that really sparked a lot of emotion. Tell us why those moments really resonated with so many people at the time.
Well, first of all, the video was pretty gruesome. And, you know, even if you didn't watch it, the way I didn't watch it, you could hear George Floyd calling for his mother. And I think it caused a lot of trauma. And I also think because we were in the middle of a global pandemic, people had nowhere to turn. They couldn't run from what they were seeing on their phones, on their TVs. And it really did hurt. And also for some who felt that, you know, perhaps we were overly sensitive as Black people when we talk about police encounters and police abuse, that they actually saw for the first time that if this is what's been happening, it's not right. In my situation, that speech was done a day after I had just left Louisville, Kentucky, the first time meeting the family of Breonna Taylor, and then showing up there to see what happened to George Floyd. Yeah. It was really just too much.
I mean, it was a lot all at one time, right? And I want to get your thoughts, speaking of George Floyd, regarding the outcome of the Chauvin trial, right? Because now there are the new federal charges against him and 3 other police officers. But I want to get your overall thought on the impact that you think the outcomes of these trials will have overall.
Well, I mean, we need to continue to see accountability. I think Derek Chauvin's trial was the first time in a while that people saw real clear accountability, where the jury made decisions that, you know, they didn't give him the lesser charge, they actually gave him all the charges. And then to turn around and see that under a Biden administration, we now have a Department of Justice that is really actively attempting to deal with these issues. The fact that they would file charges against all 4 of the officers, that also is very significant. But there is still a trial where the other officers will also have to face their day in court. So we don't get to sit down and relax. We have to continue to stay vigilant on this issue.
And when you talk about that, a lot of times it's really in the local level where you make those, you know, important moves. And you've spoken a lot about the movement to defund the police and how it has had an impact and also been misinterpreted. So explain that.
Well, you know, defund the police, for some folks, you know, defund means abolish, and it doesn't in this case, in this instance. When people are talking about defunding, we're talking about shifting resources and making sure that there is balance, that there's an even playing field. In New York City alone, there's somewhere between $6 and $10 billion being spent on policing. But when you look at other agencies like the, you know, the health care industry, where mental health issues are raging, as we know in our community, most of these agencies, when you combine the resources together, it doesn't make up the police budget. Yeah. And we're also still seeing issues with crime, right? And so for us, we're saying that there has to be some resources shifted away from policing budgets and shifted into communities so that we can bring down the need for there to even be contact between police and communities. To be clear, I believe that police are being put in a difficult situation where they're even having to go into communities dealing with issues that they're not trained to deal with. They should not have to respond to calls of, you know, mental health issues, or helping parents to deal with children, or dealing with housing issues. There should be other institutions that are well resourced that have the opportunity to step in and help, and hopefully people won't lose their lives and or be abused, and also officers won't have to be in situations that they cannot handle.
Yeah, I mean, this has really been the forefront, too, of the mayoral race, right? Everybody is asked about defunding and refunding the police, what it means and what their positions are, because I think that conversation will be happening moving forward as well. It's not over. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about allyship, right? And and it was something that that opened my eyes specifically within the past year, just being white, right? Because there's so many layers to being an ally. What does it mean for you and for those who may not understand? It sounds like something that's easy, but there's so many layers to it.
So actually, my virtual book tour begins today. The Strand Bookstore is hosting the event today for New York City. We're going to be hearing from the Public Advocate of New York, Jumaane Williams, Taraji P. Henson, Prabal Grung will be a part of it, Charlemagne the God from the Breakfast Club, and also my partner at Until Freedom, my organization, my son Lennon, will be a part of that dialogue. We'll be talking about allyship and accomplices, excuse me. And I think that that's where we want to lean. We know that allyship is important. We want to have allies, but where the relationship becomes stronger and where I think there can be real change is when we have people who are really accomplices in this work and are prepared to sacrifice to ensure that other folks are not harmed and that they haven't turned a blind eye to systemic racism and other issues that we know are happening in this country. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And folks who want to be a part of the virtual tour, it is virtual. You can go to all the tour stops, can go to TamikaDMallory.com, TamikaDMallory.com for more information.
That is fantastic. Tamika, we don't have much time, but as an Asian American, I want to ask you, how do you take your experience and all that you've learned here and help those within the Asian community? We talk about being allies, right? The Asian community is hurting right now with all of this Asian hate. How do you support the community as well?
I think we all should be at the table together because unfortunately, Black people in this country have dealt with what the Asian community is feeling for a long time. And I think we can share resources and be of a support to one another. And the relationship needs to be strong and go in both directions. And certainly we do not want to see any community harmed. We know that there has to be a very resounding message that abusing any community is something that will not be tolerated by any of us. And that's why I was definitely a part of those who pushed to see a new administration take place in this nation, because I believe that the Asian community and many other communities were targeted. And that's something that we cannot have coming from the highest office in the land. So right now, I think all of us need to be sitting down together, trying to figure out what real, true support for our communities looks like and how we can continue to fight and struggle together.
Tamika, as always, great to speak with you. It's important work that you're doing. Thanks for spending a little time with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tamika. And your book, State of Emergency, How We Win in the Country We Built, is out now.